So welcome to another episode of Carpool Aftermarket with myself, Mark Field, IWF Chief Executive, and Tony Shearer, who's the Chief Operating Officer of LKQ Euro Car Parts. We've just left T2.
Yep.
Everyone talks about it in the trade. What's the difference between T1 and T2?
About 3 times the size. Yeah, so T2 is a semi-automated warehouse, so it's
Right.
About 70% of the volume that comes out of T2 is through the automation. It's vastly bigger than T1. I mean, T1 was our first national CDC where we moved out of Wembley, primarily being a southern-based business when I first joined.
Yep.
Branch 25 had just opened, so Nottingham. So that was never going to be sustainable. We needed something that was in central to the UK. At that time, we moved into T1, which at the time was huge, 320,000 square foot. A big step forward, but I think pretty quickly after we moved in, we kind of knew that was never going to be big enough. So,
I mean, we talk about obviously showing off our industry to new people and various different things, but the sheer scale of this building, which you can't see, but it's to the right of me, and just, you know, the automotive industry has come a long way. But just tell us about your sort of experience then, Tony. How did you get involved in, how long have you been with the business and your background?
So 20 years, around about 20 years in total. I was a customer of LKQ before that for 8 years. I worked for a Porsche specialist.
Okay.
But since I left school, my dad was a mechanic. He's always been involved in the industry. So I'd worked with him at a body shop, then a Vauxhall main dealer, a couple of motor factors, so Partco, Express factors, before moving into Porsche. So I worked in a Porsche specialist for 8 years, and then from sales advisor into looking after product management, national accounts as it was called back then, as it's called key accounts these days, product management, network, and then into group operations, and in the last 4 years into logistics before moving into COO role.
So you've had a very varied career then.
Yeah.
And also been in the automotive industry and worked at different. So you've worked in your customers.
Yes.
So what benefit does that give you when you work for a customer, and obviously then become the supplier to that customer?
I think it's very much customer back. I can understand the customer needs. I know they change over time, but fundamentally, I've still got a lot of my friends and family that are involved in the motor trade, so I still stay close to it. But being able to make sure that everything we do is customer back rather than inwards out, which is really important.
And that must be really difficult, because we all talk about that and we always want that, and I'm the same at IWF in terms of building a community with our members and better member experiences, but whether you're a small business or a large business, you have pressures. There are pressures on the logistical operation, there are pressures on small businesses now at the moment, and you have to wear sort of every hat, don't you? Because you have to think about what's affecting that business, but also mirror that or manage that with what's affecting your own business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we're all have the same cost constraints and challenges that come into the business, regardless if you're a small workshop or a national account or a distributor. And we all have things like national living wage, national insurance changes, utilities, cost of everything. So you're balancing that up all the time to create something that is of value to your customer, but also makes the business profitable, because that allows you to reinvest in the business, which is really important for the future of everyone.
What do you think in terms of when we talk about the sort of investment in the business? What do you think the biggest misconception is, or the biggest unknown about LKQ Euro Car Parts is? Because obviously when you come to these operations and you see, again, that sheer scale of the business and what it does, and I remember Andy saying to me, all the trucks are working throughout the night. Everything's, it's a 24-hour operation, we're always moving. And I don't think we appreciate that in the trade sometimes. No.
Yeah, look, it's true. I mean, if you look, a lot of our costs are fixed. Your only real variable is resource to some extent. Having a business where you're fundamentally delivering 80 or 90% of your products within an hour, and you are replenishing your network 6 days a week from here, is expensive. That's an expensive distribution model. There's not many other industries where that exists, and it's it costs a lot of money to keep that. So it is something that we need to make sure that we are getting the best from, to create the best customer proposition, but also to ensure that it remains profitable.
And I guess part of the plan has been to get people into CT2 and see the operation, and the LKQ Academy as well is to open up the business, and that also helps bring people into the trade.
Yeah. I mean, it's really important. I think we have a responsibility, whether that's us as a distributor or anybody other in the industry, to help to attract people into the industry we work within. That's fundamental to our success in the future. You know, we made some heavy investments in LKQ Academy. You know, you would have seen lots of new centres opening. We got one that's been open about a year now in T1. So
yes,
Centre
saw
of
that.
Excellence. That's got a workshop and a body shop training facility. That's the only one of its kind really in the UK. They're not revenue generating. They are for us to support the industry and to help with the training needs to support our customers to be successful, because successful customers mean that, you know, we have a business in the future.
And I think that goes into some of the narrative that we're talking about, is about raising standards, because you speak to anybody in the trade, we're busy, you know, I'm busy, you're busy, garages are busy, distributors are busy, but I'm seeing more of a groundswell of support from businesses that want to give back into the trade. They want to do something that they want to leave it better than when they first arrived. And even more importantly than that whilst they are extremely busy, they're still very business orientated now. So it's small, but it's growing, and I think that's going to be key for us in the future. And that will, and I know I've spoken to you before about the maturity of the LKQ operation. It kind of feeds into that, and the customers that you're working with, in terms of how you're looking to raise standards as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's partnerships are key, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, we're not just selling boxes. We're selling.
Well, we used to do years ago, didn't we? I guess that was the thing. We used to sell. You know, that was the. But it's about more now, isn't it? It's about much more.
Yeah, and I think that's really exciting. I mean, I've grown up in this industry. My Saturday job when I was a teenager was working in a garage, and the shift, the seismic shift in the whole thing. And I've seen it even with, I still talk to my old boss that still runs a successful pool specialist.
Right.
He's had to significantly change his approach, and other customers have, and it is about businesses being more commercially astute. Rather than, you know, if I look back then, it was an enthusiast that was a mechanic that set up his own garage.
Yes.
And you need to be a lot more than that these days to be successful.
And you're seeing garages now buy into that as well. You know, we've been in rooms where we've seen over 200 garages looking at data on the presentations, and it's brilliant, because we are, in doing that, we're raising the standards, raising our game a bit, really, in terms of being more profitable, attracting more people into the industry, and it's got to be beneficial. So well, what are the key challenges that you have then in terms of your day-to-day work on a daily basis? So Tony comes into the business every day. What's your to-do list? What's your big challenge?
Well, fundamentally making sure that we've met the needs of the customer and the branch network. We have a daily ops call with all the teams to see how we performed the day before, any issues that were out in distribution, because we run a model where you have product in the branch that's as close to the customer as it needs to be for on demand to meet most of their requirements. We now have 13 RFCs across the UK that will do in-day VOR.
RFCs are?
So they're regional fulfilment centres.
Okay.
So they're typically about 50,000 square foot. We have replenished those 6 days a week. They then replenish branches during the day with customers' needs. And we replenish all of those, all the branch network and all the RFCs 6 days a week. So because there's such a wide product range and such a deep product range, you can't keep everything. The buildings aren't big enough. But so you're almost running a just-in-time logistics fulfillment business. So it's really key to make sure that the commitment that we made to the customer, our workshop that's made to their customer, is fulfilled.
So the principles are the same in terms of, you know, the availability is
key.
It's key. And it is key for any size business in the industry. But it's all the wraparound as well now that LKQ put around that in terms of the training and the support and
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I'm heavily involved in things around PAVE, which is our people adding value every day, which is about attracting people that traditionally wouldn't think about working in the motor trade or in our industry to come in, because fundamentally they come in with different ideas and a different view and a different slant and different experiences, and that's really important for us to continue to evolve and move forward. So availability is always the top, but your business is nothing without people. So your business is nothing without customers.
Exactly. So you're in the car after a long day, or you're on your way to work, ready for a long day. What are you listening to in the car?
Well, I've got quite a wide music taste. I primarily like dance music, but but 80s as well.
Right. Are you radio? Or are you Spotify or podcasts or
Capital Dance?
Brilliant. I'm loving it.
Which is, I find it makes the journey go better.
I was speaking to Kaylee from Glencallum, and she's. I'm sure we were talking Radio 1, and I was saying, well, I'm Radio 2 now, and soon to be moving to Radio 4 in the latter years of my life. So, but no, I love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm been making the transition. I was Radio 1 as well.
Back in the day.
I tried to listen to Radio 2 a couple of times, but I'm not sure I'm quite ready for that. But yeah, Capital Dance for me.
Oh, brilliant. The person who was last in your seat has the fortunate position of leaving you a question, and that person was Andy Lees from Marla Aftermarket, and his question was, didn't know it was going to be you, by the way, his question was, what are the challenges facing businesses in the next 10 to 15 years, particularly with motor factors and garages? Now, if you think about your business, 99% of your what's in your warehouse in T2 is probably combustion engine related. So I'm guessing that's going to be a big issue.
Absolutely, yeah.
Providing the, that's if the combustion engine doesn't stay around and we don't develop it further.
And I think that's the problem, is that we haven't answered that question. Full EV, is that the full solution? I think it's one of the solutions. There'll be changes, I'm sure, over the next 3 to 5 years on some gas hybrid. So the challenge for us is staying ahead of that curve so that we can adapt our business to change. Because you're right, I mean, a lot of what we sell today is relating to ICE engines. And that's why it's really important on the training and on everything else, and staying close to the customer, because that's the only way we're going to know. Is if we stay connected to the customer, we help them to be successful as technology changes. And we shift away from being just a parts supplier and being a partner. Because
most independent garages aren't seeing it.
No.
But potentially they will do.
Yes.
Maybe at the rate it's going, maybe not in my lifetime, but also something will happen, because it will have to happen, and there are targets and there are things in place. So goalposts will change, but there's probably, my viewpoint and how we lobby on this is kind of having a technology neutral approach to support drivers' choice to drive the vehicle that best suits their lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, because if we look at, I was having a conversation a couple of weeks ago with some of our OneTech members, and a lot of those garages now are again trying to stay on or ahead of that curve. So even though primarily a lot of the chunk of their business will still be ICE related, they're starting to do EV training for their technicians. They're investing. So because, like myself at the moment, the second car in the house is a full EV. And as that comes out of warranty, and even before, you're going to be needing to get those maintained alongside your ICE engine at the same garage. And I think if you're not doing that and you drive that business somewhere else, then you're starting to lose your customer base.
I think it's really interesting and important. It's like AI and artificial intelligence. You can't bury your head in the sand. You have to look at it. You might not say it applies to your business now. I'm sure it applies to your business and you use it, but you have to embrace change, and that's because that's the only constant thing that's going to happen in this market is change. So now you have the fortunate position to leave a question to the next person, a question that I actually answer as well.
Okay.
But don't think about me in that process.
No, I won't. Okay, so that we're talking about 5, 10, 15 years.
Yes.
What about 0 to 5 years? Because it feels like things are changing on a weekly basis, even a daily basis. There are lots of challenges, in different continents, in different countries, in the UK. Things are evolving very quickly. What do we need to do now between the 0 and 5? Because I don't think we can wait to see what happens.
That's a good question. I'm gonna venture some answers in this one. I think for small businesses, when you talk about a lot of the challenges that businesses were facing today, so it's 1st of April, there's lots of government changes and national insurance and things like that. The aftermarket has always made itself very resilient in terms of getting over some of these issues and continuing to perform admirably and not necessarily being rewarded for its efforts, in some respects. Not that we do it for that, but the marketplace is such that we're kind of the unknown emergency service, because look at the mobility that we provide to everybody. I think there's an element of us looking at businesses, our own businesses, in a much more smarter way, because I think and it goes into the raising standards, if we look at those businesses more objectively and finding the time, which is the hardest part, to look at our business and go, right, what can we do better, what can we do different, what can we do smarter, I think you then start to look at going down a road that, is it left here by the way?
No, it's the next road.
And but we look then to go down the road where we say we're going to be raising standards now. We're going to look at our business differently. We're going to adopt differently because we are a male-dominated industry. There are various different things that we need to provide support for in terms of a male-dominated industry. We need to address the gender balance. So my kind of point, and I'm going off on different tangents, is I just think we need to just take 5 minutes, just have a look at everything, and then look and say, well, okay, because if we look at the news sometimes, and even in the automotive trade and the B2B news, it can a little bit be just so negative. Yeah. And the aftermarket always finds its way.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, if I was saying in the next 5 years, have a look at your 1 year, your 3 year, your 5 years, and say, right, this is where we want to get to, this is where we're comfortable with, because you can be overloaded heavily as an individual, but also as a business, and you fail the stress test. And I think that if you invest in yourself first as a person, I'm a big believer in that, and then look at the business and say, right, what can we possibly stretch ourselves to doing that'll make the business better, that won't snap the business, and then you start to then put things in place. Your mindset changes in terms of how you're running the business, because it's so easy just to get into, like, every new year, every January the 1st, it's going to be different. January the 2nd, we're all on to, running around like headless chickens again, and all of this stuff. Yeah. I just think we're starting to see, certainly garages, distributors are there, suppliers are there as well, just look at the market and the business a bit differently, how we approach MOTs, how we approach servicing and repair, and how we approach the offering to customers. And I think big issue for us is how we look at bringing the consumer along with us in that approach. That's a very, very long answer to your question.
I agree, fully agree. I think creating that foundation and a business that is successful today allows you to be successful in the future, and being agile and changing. Yeah. We're having to change. We're having to be agile and change as a business. It's the same for our customers.
We've lost personalities in the distribution sector, but we've gained personalities in the garage sector, which is obviously garages are travelling more, Automechanica is coming up, there's lots happening, and people of influence and influencers are gaining more prominence, and it's good. The whole supply chain is kind of really invigorating. So I think that what we need to do is make sure we look after our individual self. That will make our businesses better. I'm a firm believer in that, because it can be quite lonely in business, and I think that we need to we need to always bear that in mind. We had a garage section meeting recently, and we were looking at our Jeeper right to repair report that IWF did, and it was, customers are demanding, they want quality, and they want it at a cost they can afford. They also want their gym membership and everything else, and going out for dinner and all of that. We are demanding as consumers.